Happy Valentine's Day to you too, to
Thank
Lisa
you.
Kelly. So, yeah, this takes me back as well when, I was single and seeing all the happy couples and roses, and I'll be like, where's my guy? So, yeah, I completely understand how it feels when, when you're not with someone, but, Valentine's Day is covered in, people with roses, flowers, sayings and messages and on social media and stuff. So, but yeah, so what I might get you guys to do if you can, you don't have to close your eyes because I know you're at work, but anytime we like, we can actually close our eyes and get into the feeling of having this amazing, loving partner right there, because it actually is just a feeling in your body. So, if you guys did want to do that and imagine them showering you with gifts or taking you out or, getting lots of love and affection. I started to do that towards the days when I was getting closer to meeting Michael and really stepping into it. So so that's a little tip that you can do as well, because it's always just a feeling. But so today I just wanted to quickly do a little rundown of my story in case you guys didn't know. And you obviously know about the book that I've been writing too, that I'm just still fixing up a few things, a few of my stories on there. Yeah, I did date a few guys uh, when I was younger. I was a late starter though. I didn't start dating till university. But so I had some short relationships on and off, and I thought I was a bit in control of them all because I was mainly the one doing the breaking in those relationships. But then I met this particular guy, which I call him guy number one in my book. But so guy number one. And so he's the one who started it all for me. So he's the one who started my whole journey of the research and the looking to see if, soulmates or real true love existed. When I first met him, we worked together. So this is guy number one. So we did work together, and I didn't like him at first, so I probably should have listened to that signal. But eventually we did a staff get together after work, and no one else showed up but him and I. So I don't know whether it was still meant to be, but yeah, and I tried to get out of there as fast as possible because I didn't really like him then. But yeah, he followed me and we ended up chatting in the car park for like an hour, and I got to know him a bit more, and that's where I kind of fell for him. So he was a very difficult relationship. So I was like on a mission. I tried everything to get him to love me, but of course, he didn't love himself. So, it was very difficult. So, a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, a lot of frustration. So, it was more like the typical on again, off again relationships. Yeah. So, he's the one who started me on this journey. So, when I tried so many different things to try and get him to love me, and it wasn't working, and I had some really big heartaches. So the first one was when we both had the day off work together, and I was excited to do something, and then I found out that he decided to go into work anyway, and I was like, oh, really? But the next big heartbreak from that relationship was when we went to a family wedding together. And driving back from the wedding, um, I wanted to put my hand on his leg, just like in a loving, supportive way. And he looked at me and he said, I'll never love you. So that was really, I still get a little teary thinking about it, but yeah, so that's when I got really, really upset and frustrated. And I actually tried to jump out of the car while it was moving on the highway. I was that frustrated and upset, and I didn't know. I'm thinking if I jump out of this car and kill myself, will he love me? But and you'd think I'd give up after that as well, right? Someone saying that. But I didn't. I was more frustrated and started looking more online, like how to get a guy to love you, how to get your ex back, how, Like I was so determined. I even looked at possibly doing a spell on him to get him to love me, but I'm really glad I didn't go down that path because there is still free will involved. But I actually did go and see a psychic, and she told me that we wouldn't end up together. And I was so upset I didn't want to hear any more what she had to say. Because I was like, I'll prove her wrong. I'll be the best girlfriend. But I just, yeah, at least a couple of years it was on and off. And then I ended up buying my first relationship book online through all my research, and it was called How to Get Him Back. And I started implementing those steps. And one of them was not to contact them for at least 3 months. And if they were interested in you at all, they will contact you. So I think it was exactly 3 months to the day we hadn't contacted that he sent me a text message. I was like, oh, he's still interested. But yeah, we even went overseas together. And again, he kept saying, we're not together. We're not together. So I guess I'd been hurt so much. I finally, after the 2 years, was like, I'm done. This relationship is done. I give up. I've tried everything. So, yeah, but I was like, hang on a minute. So if I can't get him to love me, is there a guy out there for me? Do I like how do happy couples last? Like, let me figure this out. So yeah, I started reading all these books at the library, anything I could on dating and relationships and love and soulmates and um yeah, I really dove into it, and that's where I came across the law of attraction, and I was like, oh, you could just visualize and a guy will turn up, but it wasn't that simple. There was a lot more to it, and I did have some successful visualizations, so it is very powerful. It freaked me out once when I did manifest exactly this visualization I had, which I thought meant a guy would love me if he would like kiss me sweetly around my head. And I did that visualization for a few nights, and then I met this guy online and we went out like mini golf, I think it was. And yeah, and he did that exact visualization, but then I found out he was on drugs, and I was like, oh my God. So I was like, the visualization works, but that it doesn't always manifest the right person. So yeah. So apart from him, then I had guy number two, which was a guy that my friend introduced me to, who was another on again, off again relationship that lasted a few years with some frustrations. But after him, and then even there was another relationship at the same time that was similar, on again, off again, wouldn't commit. They were always busy. Work was always more important. So I'd realized the pattern. And with the last three, relationships picking up this pattern, and I, yeah, got really determined to break it. In 2011 February, like right now, there was a webinar on the Ultimate Soulmate Summit by, one of my mentors, Ariel Ford, who wrote the book The Soulmate Secret. And she co-hosted it with Claire Zammit, and it was awesome. Like they interviewed all these soulmate couples, plus they had tips and sharing, how to attract the right partner. And I just love that audio. And yeah, I listened to it like every day. And yes, so that helped me create these realizations. So one of the realizations I had along the way was I asked another relationship expert that I was following, why am I still single? I'm doing all these things, these meditations, these, I even tried EFT, visualizations, meditations. There were so many different, like NLP. And I said to her, why am I still single? I feel like I'm ready. And her response was one of my realizations. And she said, what do you love about being single? And I was like, oh, wow. I'd never thought of it that way. So that was one of the realizations where I did like being single, because I thought I'd get tied down. I thought a guy wouldn't be as much fun as I am. And so I then had to rethink what I wanted in a guy, to make sure that I wasn't restricting myself. And then another realization was after out on a date with guy number two, and he wouldn't hug or kiss me goodbye. He wouldn't even sit next to me at the show. I just felt so insignificant and unloved. And yeah, I was just like, wow, why am I upset though? He's not, hurting me, physically in any way, but it's just not what I wanted. I wanted to feel adored and loved, and I really wanted an affectionate guy. So driving home crying, I realized that there's probably the guy I want sitting on a couch somewhere, waiting for me, and I was spending all this time, energy, on someone who, wasn't giving me what I wanted. So I had to cut him off. That was so hard to do because you love the attention. But yeah, so cutting him off was really hard. Even after I did, I said, look, please delete my number from your phone, never contact me again. And he still did. But I just didn't respond. And I had to do that with another guy as well, who I felt was just leading me on. I was like, look, this isn't what I want. I want, something for life. And by them not saying anything is your answer, right? They're either jumping up and down with joy to be with you, or they're not. So with him as well, I said, look, please delete my number from your phone, never contact me again. I need to show the universe I'm serious, that, I'm all in. And this guy, he's got to be out there somewhere, right? So yeah, so it wasn't long after that actually when I had a realization too that I had to invest in the relationship, and I decided to pay eHarmony for 3 months. And I think it was just before the 3 months was up, Michael had sent me a smile, and we got chatting. I mean, I was chatting and dating a couple of guys from eHarmony at the same time, but nothing serious. I think I went out maybe once or twice with a couple of them. But yeah, but Michael is very different and very intriguing. And I was actually trying to get rid of him because he was in Canberra and I didn't want a long distance relationship. But he asked so many different questions. Like he really wanted to know me. And yeah, and then even when he sent me his credit card number in an email and we hadn't even met, I was like, wow, this guy's honest. Yeah, and trustworthy, obviously trusting me with his credit card number. But yeah, and then we had, the first date, and it was just so easy and flowing, and like the conversations and the fun and the laughter, and it's such a difference. So you'll pick that up too when you meet the right person. It'll be easy, like easy flowing, like you just be yourself. Or in my case, trying to get rid of him. But that's what you do, right? You really full on be yourself when you're trying to get rid of someone, and show all the parts that we usually try and hide to look polite and correct, and put on our best front. But yeah, and then after that first date, and then we met again the next day. I was excited to meet with him onto the whale watching cruise as well that I'd booked for him, and he was very different. Yes. So different is good. Different was a relief actually, of someone really honestly wanting to get to know me as a person. So and I thought he was gay because he didn't kiss me, but he then sent me an email, very long email, explaining how he felt and everything. And then I think it was the next week that, because he hadn't officially asked me out, and I'd learned not to assume you're someone's girlfriend until they're official about it. So I kept dating, and then I came home from this date, and Michael and I were still chatting, and he asked to talk to me on Skype, and I'm like, hey, I just got back from this date. And he was like, why are you still dating? And I was like, oh, well, you never asked me. And he was like, you're right. Wow, will you be my girlfriend? So, and that was on the 2nd. So, as you might see on all our social media, we tend to celebrate every month on the 2nd from the official day that he asked me out. But yeah, so that's most of my story, the sort of shortened version. The book goes into a lot more detail, but hopefully I, gave you guys some tips of stuff to look out for as well, for those of you who are after, a loving, lasting, relationship that feels like, your soulmate or true love, or yeah, because we all deserve it, and it's there for us. It just, you may not be ready for it, or you might have, some other reason, that it's not there for you yet, that you're not putting into practice or realizing.